Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about The Institute, Season 1, Episode 1, The Boy. So, this is based off of Stephen King's novel that he came out with, I believe, in 2019. And so this is also an MGM Plus television series that is produced by Spyglass. So Stephen King is an executive producer, and originally David E. Kelly was supposed to also, executive produce this show, but he later dropped out. And so I was on Amazon, and I'm looking for stuff to watch. Right? I had no idea this is even an MGM like show, and so I'm cruising around trying to find something to watch. And I see something that looks pretty eerie and everything. It's called The Institute. And I recognize, I think his name is, what is it? I think it's Benjamin Barnes. No, Ben Barnes. Well, Benjamin Barnes, yeah. But Ben Barnes. I'm like, oh, okay, I recognize him from the Chronicles of Narnia movie that came out in the early 2000s. He was also the bad guy in the Punisher television series and stuff. He's a really good actor. So I'm all like, I guess I'll maybe check the trailer out, see what it's about, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, oh wow, the trailer is pretty cool. It's kind of like a sci-fi supernatural horror-ish type thing, you know what I'm saying? So I watched the first episode. And as I'm watching the first episode, I keep seeing MGM Plus pop up. I'm like, crap. I'm like, this isn't an Amazon show because episodes come out weekly and everything. And so I'm like, crap, it's an MGM Plus show and I'm not signing up for that right now. So I'm not going to be able to watch the rest of this show until the end of this year when I normally get it. But I normally get it to watch the show from, because that's really the only thing I have left to watch on MGM Plus, because there's not too much to watch, and Chapel Wait already got canceled. And I'm not even sure when the fourth season or third season or whatever season they're on now from comes out and everything. I think they're coming out with the fourth season. And so I'm like, crap, I don't have to wait till next year. Hopefully it'll come out this year and I can get MGM Plus. Because I am kind of intrigued as to what exactly is going on in this show. And so 2 episodes are up on Amazon Prime, but you can only watch the first one for free. And the next episode comes out, I think maybe tomorrow or a few days from now, something like that. And so it's an interesting show. It's not really thrilling in the first episode. It's not really keep you on the edge of your seat, but you are kind of intrigued as to what the heck exactly is going on. Now, I've never watched Stranger Things, but I know that it deals with kids being experimented on and having these special powers and stuff like that. This is kind of like this. The Institute is basically some type of rogue government laboratory institution for gifted kids and everything, where they kidnap you in the middle of the night and they take you to this facility and they run a bunch of tests and experiments on you. And the kids seem to have some sort of powers and stuff. The show follows a boy named Luke, and he's a telekinetic, along with a couple of other kids that are also telekinetics and other things too. This is only going to be just a synopsis, my thoughts on it. I would have preferred to watch the entire series first, but I can't. You don't really get a grasp as to what the other kids' powers are, because they don't really show you. So basically, like I said before, this deals with a kid named Luke, played by Joe Freeman. And he is an extremely intelligent, smart kid. He's so smart, he's too smart for high school. He's 14 years old. And he's getting ready to go to college because he's about to graduate early. And so basically, he's playing basketball, rips his shirt. He's talking to this really cute girl who needs help on like tutoring and stuff like that, right? And so basically him and his parents, they go out to eat and then he goes to sleep. And then all of a sudden, these group of like agents storm his place and they like use knockout gas on him. And as he's drifting away, he assumes that I think this one lady he thinks it's like Santa Claus or something like that. And she's all like, whatever makes you happy, kid. And then he goes to sleep. When we see him wake up, he's still in his room. And it's just kind of like, oh, I know what's going on here. I've seen too many sci-fi-ish, like government type stuff to not know what's going on. They replicated his room and it almost worked until he went to go put on the shirt he was wearing last night when he was playing basketball and noticed that the ripping on his shirt is no longer there. Being highly intelligent, he looks out the window and see that there are bars on his window. You don't know you're in a facility until you look out the room or you leave the room. And he's wandering around and he meets a young girl named Kalisa. And she's played by Simone Miller and stuff. And those two pretty much hit it off. She's really nice, very friendly. And she kind of eases, his state of mind and everything. Now, Luke is a little defiant and everything, you know what I'm saying? And so he gets taken to the head boss lady. As he's walking, he noticed one of the women who kidnapped him. And so, like, Mary-Louise Parker, she plays Mrs. What's her name? Sixby. So Mrs. Sixby is the one in charge of the place, and she's pretty stern, and she's laying down the rules and everything, telling him he'll be there for a couple of weeks. They'll run some tests. Some tests will be easy, some will be slightly painful, and then he's free to go home, blah, 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 blah. Basically, they're looking for like the finest of the fine and everything when it comes to like their abilities and stuff like that. Which I don't know if he ever knew he had telekinetic powers. He only displayed them when he was at a restaurant and something happened and he made something slightly move or knock over. And so he knows he's in some kind of like crappy, gonna get in trouble kind of place. And so he has to go and get kind of like this, I don't know, like a tracking device implanted on like his earlobe. And like I said before, he is defiant. Now I'll get to that a little bit later. Now when it comes to Mrs. Sigsby, we don't really know too much about her. She's stern in the beginning, but then when we see her go home, she's playing music, she's cooking, she's dancing the music. But then all of a sudden we see her take like a metal tool, put it on the stove to get it hot, and then she burns her thigh, and there's other burn marks there, and she's enjoying herself for some reason, burning herself. I wish I had more episodes to know what the heck is going on. So anyway, Luke goes to this room and he has to get a device implanted on his earlobe, a little metal device that blinks and stuff like that. And he doesn't want it. He tells this dude straight up who's supposed to give it to him, he ain't putting that in his ear. And the dude's all like, it's just a little pinch. He's like, I don't care. And so the dude clocks him dead in the jaw and knocks him to the ground. And he's all like, did you like that? That's pretty painful. He's all like, this little prick in your ear is nothing compared to what I just did to you. So being scared and scrawny and nerdy, Luke lets him put that implant in his ear. And this lets you know straight up, these people don't play around. They will straight up hurt you if you do not follow their rules. Now, Julian Richings, he plays Stackhouse, and I recognize him from Urban Legends, the slasher movie. He was the janitor. He was also in Doom Patrol in the episode. He played another laboratory madman type person, mad scientist. And so I'm not quite sure what exactly his role is in the show, but he is very intimidating. And he's always wearing like a business suit. And so he's talking to like one of the women who kidnapped Luke because she screwed up because he saw her face and recognized her. And as he's talking about this, he's all like, look, what's in the past is in what the past and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, you need to go get your new recruit and everything. And so I'm all like, wow, he's not even mad at her. But why does he give such a stern look if he's not that pissed? Like, he looks creepy. Well, the woman whose name I do not know, she goes home and she lives in a completely different like city or state, right? And she's at a bar and she's talking to this girl who she's been dating for a while. And the recruiting lady who kidnaps people, she seems pretty friendly and everything. And so it makes you seem like she's not as bad and probably doesn't like doing what she does. And so her girlfriend, oh, who is she played by? She was in that Gossip Girl reboot. I forget her name. Um, she is it Wendy? I'm not sure. Oh no, wait. I think it's Kate, played by Jordan Alexander, and I believe. And so like she tells her, like, where do you always go? You're always disappearing. She's like, well, my job takes me very far away. And so she said, me and some of the townspeople have a bet as to what you do for like a living since you go off and blah, blah. Anyways, and because like apparently the recruiter lady, she got drunk one night and started spilling things about her job, and this confused her girlfriend. And so she tried to play it off like, oh, you know, I don't remember saying that. So when they're like in a hotel room or something like that and wakes up, all of a sudden the recruiter is on the laptop and I think she's pulling up something. I think her new recruit. And she's basically talking about her about like, you know, I forget exactly what, but it's kind of like along the lines of, you know, having regrets or guilt or something like that. And then she asked her, do you believe in hell? And so her girlfriend was like, of course I do. And then it happened. I was not expecting this to happen. It happened out of nowhere. She picks up a pillow, has a gun in her hand, and blow that lady's brains out. Then she calls the institute and talks to Stackhouse and telling him that the recruiter was not reliable and that his fears were justified and everything because the recruiter was starting to have doubts. And so she basically terminated that woman. And he's kind of shocked and surprised, the look on his face as to her terminating her. So it's kind of like, did he want her terminated or not? You know what I'm saying? So then she asked for like a cleanup crew and everything. And so while at the institute, like Luke is talking to some of the other kids, Calissa and stuff like that. Also a guy named Nikki. Nikki seems to be a bit older than them. It turns out the oldest person who was ever there was like 19. But they don't really go into too much detail, and they seem like they're a little too worried to talk about these people. Iris is another girl, and George is a guy that's also in the institute, like one of the teenagers and stuff. And Iris and George seem pretty cool. Nikki seems like the rebellious one who gets in trouble and stuff like that. And so Calissa, she ends up kissing Luke when nobody's around. So she does like him, but then he starts to get the feeling that her and Nikki might be together and everything. So at some point in time, Nikki is playing chess with Luke. And he tells Luke, I bet you're one of those like really smart kids who can like figure a way out or like know that we're never gonna leave this place because the people here are kind of fishy and stuff. So he tells basically Luke, you know, so how you gonna get all of us like to break out of this place? And then it basically ends. Now there's another character I haven't mentioned yet. That's Tim, who's played by Ben Barnes. And he's like a former cop in the military who is like a drifter, and he hitchhikes with this one lady and she takes him back to her farm so he can do some work and she'll take him to some other place. He gets the job in night security. and don't know much of nothing about this guy. He's kind of a blank slate. But as he's walking in town, he passed the recruiter and her girlfriend and stuff, but he didn't seem to be connected to them. So I've been wondering, how exactly is this character connected to the show, because so far he's in his own little world doing his own little thing. And so like and plus he's on like the poster and everything, so he has to be a big character somehow. Apparently the synopsis of the show says that him and Luke paths will cross and that they're connected somehow. So this will be, seriously, we might as well be living in the UK. This is gonna be an 8-episode series. I'm so tired of 8 to 6 episodes. I want 20. And if I can't have that, I'll take 10 or 13 or something like that. But 8 episodes is just too short. I want characters to be fleshed out. And so far, like, this pilot episode is very fast paced and everything. And you don't really get a sense of who some of these characters are. And so, yeah, like I said before, this first episode is not like thrilling. It's not going to have you on the edge of your seat. I don't know why it's considered a horror show, because I didn't really see nothing horror-ish type in there, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, in some ways it's kind of like Stranger Things or that Fox, the Mutants movie and everything. So yeah, I'm kind of interested to see where it goes, but if it keeps going in this slightly slow, fast pace, then I'm gonna get kind of bored and irritated very soon. But so far, I am intrigued and stuff. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.